You know, some of the most powerful lessons in life, they don't come from textbooks, do they? They come from stories, passed down from one generation to the next. In this explainer, we're going to dive into the Lakota Way, which is this amazing collection of stories that teach these timeless virtues for living a really meaningful life. It's all about finding that deep wisdom hidden in the narrative. So the author, Joseph Marshall, kicks things off with this memory from when he was just in fourth grade. He gets hit with this wave of insults on the playground, and he goes home, just completely heartbroken. And his grandfather gives him this incredible piece of advice. It's not about just ignoring the words, but about understanding how to strip them of their power, how to stop them from hooking into your own anger or your own pride.
All right, so that brings us to our first core virtue, humility. Now, in our world today, we often think loudness equals strength, right? But in Lakota wisdom, real strength, well, that's found in quiet dignity and a truly humble spirit. And there's this one story from the author's life that just illustrates this perfectly.
So he recalls this time when his uncle was the president of the Rosebud Sioux tribe. And one day, a woman who was absolutely furious about a tribal service her family was denied just storms right into his office. You can just imagine how thick the air was with her anger. And she did not hold back. I mean, she insulted him personally, she insulted him professionally, just unleashing this torrent of frustration. Now, most people in a position of power would have pushed back immediately, wouldn't they? But he didn't. He just sat there with his head down and let her say everything she needed to say. He listened patiently until she had completely run out of steam. And what he did next, well, that's what's so incredible. With that one simple, quiet response, he completely disarmed her. Just like that. She was expecting a fright, an arrogant comeback, but instead she got empathy. And she was speechless. She just turned around and walked away. That right there is the power of humility and action. It shows that true power isn't about asserting your dominance. It's about absorbing conflict with empathy. This idea of inner strength is a perfect lead-in to our next virtue, perseverance. And this isn't just about, being able to run a long way. It's described as this kind of spiritual giant that awakens inside of us right when we think we've hit our absolute limit. The Lakota have a specific word for this, Wakļáŋ Tļáŋka. It means to push on, to keep striving, no matter how tough things get. It's a really core concept. And, just like all of these virtues, it's best understood through a story. Okay, let's just look at this number for a second. 16. During the Great Depression, this number defined every single day for the author's grandfather. What could it possibly be?
16 miles. That's 8 miles to his job with the Civilian Conservation Corps, and 8 miles all the way back home, every single day. And he didn't do this for himself. He did it out of a deep, profound sense of commitment and love for his family. That is Wakļáŋ Tļáŋka. That's when the spirit just keeps pushing the body forward long after it wants to get. And that kind of commitment, it comes from an even bigger foundational idea in the Lakota worldview, respect. And we're not just talking about respecting other people, we're talking about respecting everything. The belief is that all life is related, that we're all part of one big interconnected circle. So when the author was a child, he watched his grandparents volunteer to clean an old church. And what do they find inside? A huge swarm of honeybees. But instead of just destroying them, his grandfather patiently builds a smoky fire to gently guide them out. Then, and get this, his grandmother goes inside, and even though she got stung a few times, she gently gathers the rest by hand and sets every last one of them free outside. Later, the church priest finds out what they did and actually scolds them for it. He said they should have just used insecticide because, after all, they are only insects. And that moment, wow, it just brilliantly illustrates the difference in worldview. For the grandparents, they weren't only insects, they were relatives, a part of this circle of life, and they deserved respect. So what do we do with all this? How do these incredible stories translate into our own lives? Well, humility, perseverance, respect, they aren't just abstract ideas. They're virtues that you show through your actions, big and small. They're basically paths to a stronger, more connected way of living, whether you're trying to navigate a tough conversation at work or just deciding how to interact with the world around you. So, the big insight here is that virtue isn't just a list of rules to follow. It's a way of being. It's a wisdom that's embedded in these stories, showing us that real strength is found in that quiet dignity, that true perseverance is a force that comes from way down deep inside, and that genuine respect extends to all life,
simply because we're all connected. And this brings us to a final, really powerful question that the book leaves us with. If our lives are a collection of stories that other people will one day tell, what's going to be the theme of your story? What virtues will it teach? What story will you be?